Chase Daniel from the Mothership, the Chase Daniel Show on YouTube, must-see TV, as he breaks down the playoff quarterbacks and Fernando Mendoza. What kind of pro do you think Fernando Mendoza is going to be, Chase?
So elite, you're talking like Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Burrow, all those. I mean, look, I don't think he's going to be like that, but I really like the way he's played in college. And you even go back to his time at Cal, and he just has something about him. Like I know the OC really well at Indiana, so I know the inner workings of him. He's extremely smart. And when you watch him, and you were watching him last night, right? He gets a bloody lip. He goes through, and you look at the stat line, and you're like, well, he didn't even throw for 200 yards and no touchdowns, no interceptions, all this stuff. But you just really look at a couple plays in that game, the fourth down to Becker, right? A couple of these back shoulder throws, and then his Heisman moment, the national championship moment on 4th and 5 with Fernando Mendoza. You're calling a quarterback draw versus that Miami defense. And Miami, the D coordinator came out and said, we even knew it was going to happen. He just finds ways to will your team to victory. I mean, look, he would have already been taken number one, but his playoff run going back to the Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and then his entire playoff run against these defenses, to me, he's easily cemented himself as the number one pick. It's not even question.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. And once again, I know we just put the national title game to rest, but moving forward, I don't know if what I see there. Like I see Kirk Cousins, less athletic Andrew Luck, is Joe Flacco. Like I'm not quite sure. And look, I would take that if I'm the Raiders and I get any one of those three.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure what I'm seeing with him.
Well, and I think a lot of people are you, Dan. That's why I was sort of hoping Dante Moore would come out. Because for me, when I break down Dante Moore, yeah, he's not as polished, but the ceiling's much higher. When you get Fernando Mendoza, he's already so polished. And whatever you're talking about, this next jump to the NFL where they're all grown men, they're all good stuff, you look at ceiling, like how much better can you get? And so when I'm breaking them down, to me, the number one thing that I see in his scouting report is like, I just love the way he plays, like passion, poise, and heart. Like you can't measure that, right? Mm-hmm. You have to have a strong enough arm to make all the throws. And I think he's shown that with these back shoulder throws. I think he's more athletic than you think. He's got a stronger arm than you think. The one thing that NFL coaches are going to love, and especially Tom Brady when they take him at number one, is his eyes are never in the wrong spot. So he never gets confused. He's extremely smart. And I'm talking to some of these Indiana coaches, and they're like, you're exactly right on that. He just knows exactly where to look versus pressure. He's a real cerebral type quarterback. I think he progresses really well. He sees it really well. And mechanically, he's really solid. The one thing I think that a lot of people are going to see is like, hey, his pocket mechanics, meaning how does he feel in the pocket versus a muddy pocket? Because you're going to get a lot of muddy pockets in the NFL. I think that's something that really needs to be improved on. I think there was a stat in the game to start the second half, 3 pass attempts, 3 sacks, right? And he ended up getting going in the fourth quarter. But that's sort of the early scouting report. And it's just almost by default because the Raiders need a quarterback. And there's really no other quarterbacks that even remotely stand a chance. So I think with great coaching, with good people around them, you have Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers. If you go out and get a receiver, the one thing I'm worried about the Raiders, though, is that offensive line's pretty bad.
We'll segue into the NFL. What has happened to C.J. Stroud?
Wow, that's a great question. I actually called, so the ESPN had an alternative cast on the app, and we called both of CJ Stroud's games up there in Bristol on ESPN the app. It's the playbook game where it's analytics. So I got to really dive into not only him playing the game, but analytically too. And I actually really thought he played a little bit better weeks 1 through, I think, 11. Not great, still took a lot of sacks, still that offensive line's pretty bad. And then when he went out with injury and watched Davis Mills play for those 3 weeks, I thought he came back and was on fire. I think it was weeks 13 through 18. I thought he played really, really well, saw the field really well. And then it's just the regression in the playoffs. It's one of those things where if he's not seeing the first read clearly and he's having a hard time progressing within the pocket to his next read, that's where it gets muddy and he just makes bad decisions, right? You know it more than anyone. quarterback play, especially in the NFL, is yeah, you got to have all the arm strength and the throat. You can't make bad decisions. You can't turn the football over and expect to win, right? He was the liability. And I think when you get in a point like that, and you get in a point where you're just pressing constantly, more bad plays are going to happen to you. And it's just, I don't think that they're going to move on from him. I think they're going to pick up the fifth year option. But it is getting to a point where if you aren't sure that CJ Stroud's your guy, you got to start looking elsewhere. Everyone remembers the rookie season, but those next two have just been okay.
And this is the danger that we see. We saw this with Tua. We saw this with Kyler. And I got to be sure. If I'm giving you a couple of $100 million, I'm sorry, I might be hurting your feelings. You got to show me one more year. And even with CJ Stroud, you might show me one more year. I'll franchise. I'm just not giving you that kind of money. If you said to Miami, you can do a do-over, they would do a do-over. Arizona with Kyler Murray. There's certain guys, Josh Allen got extended after, I think, 3 years. I understand that, or Joe Burrow. But these guys aren't Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. So that temptation of, or I'm going to hurt your feelings if I don't extend you, man, I'm sorry. This is big boy business here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And in the way that it's situated with first-round picks, I'm sure a lot of people follow and understand. You have the fifth-year option, then you can technically go back-to-back franchise tags. So you have a first-year pick under contract for 7 years without you having to actually extend them. Now, a lot of people don't do that a la Kirk Cousins because it gets really expensive, and those franchise tags are guaranteed money. So they still have a little bit of time. And I think when you looked at and talked to D'Amico Ryans or when he had his post-game interview, he was like, hey, we got a little bit of time here. But during that time, it's like, hey, we got to start looking at, hey, what's in the draft, what's there, and what's in free agency. So you do have a little bit of time because technically first-round picks, you can have them under contract really for 7 years.
Chase Daniel, ESPN NFL college football analyst and part of the Athletics Scoop City podcast and host of the Chase Daniel Show on YouTube. Would you have moved on from Sean McDermott in Buffalo?
Everything I know about Sean McDermott, I love him. And I think he's one of the better coaches. I think this is something, and I know it's been heard, but I've heard as well, it's like you almost reach a ceiling with him and the message gets stale. I think a little bit, right? When you get to the division round, you get the AFC championship round a couple times and you lose to the quarterbacks you lose to. This was the year, Dan, that they were supposed to do it, right? They were playing really good ball. No Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson, no Patrick Mahomes. And in the biggest game of the year, Josh Allen lays an egg. And it's almost like, hey, you're really not to blame, but we got to change leadership, right? When you come back, and I've been a part of teams like this, like when you come back to a team after a big playoff run and you hear the same message again, you're like, well, what's going to change? Right? What's going to change? We have one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks in all the NFL. We have a decent team. We've constructed an okay roster with Brandon Beane. But when you come back as a player and you hear Sean McDermott say, "This is what we're going to do," and it really doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't change. Right? I'm not in that room, but it's just the same message over and over again. You're expecting different results. That the definition's insanity. It's a tough business. I mean, who would have thought 10 teams would have been without head coaching jobs, and especially with the quarterbacks that they have. So this is easily the most important hire, I think, in Bill's history, because you look at what you have with Josh Allen. Everyone. I mean, how do you think it would have played out with Harbaugh and Stefanski? Like, I don't think they go to their places. I think they go to Buffalo because it's without a doubt of all the openings, you have Josh Allen, and it's a tough business.
Yeah, but is Sean McDermott a better coach if Josh Allen doesn't throw interceptions?
I mean, that's a great point.
I mean, really, that's if they win, and then you're going to have them against New England. He might be going to he's in the AFC title game.
And that's why I think it's just so, like, there's so many decisions in a game, right? Like, what happens if that's a catch rather than an interception?
Yeah.
What happens? But here's the thing, though.
Did you agree with that call?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're going to get me. I thought it was absolutely an interception. He never controlled the ball going to the ground. The DB's hand was in there and the ball was coming loose. So I thought it was the correct call.
You know what? I'm finding former players think it's an interception, where most fans think it's a catch.
Yeah. I mean, who do you trust, right? I mean, look, I think to me, it's like, it's so hard to understand what a catch is nowadays. But you also look at McDermott, go back to McDermott. You look at the decision at halftime with 16 seconds left to let Josh Allen throw the ball. I get it, but your job as a coach is to, if you know your guy's going to be that aggressive, to take the stinger out of his hand, say, take a knee, let's go, right? And I get it. There's like 5 or 6 plays, Dan, in every single game, and sometimes ownership makes rash decisions at that time. Like I think McDermott's going to get another job. I think he's probably the best coach out there, but at some point the message just gets stale. You got to move on.
Yeah, you see these coaches that you got Tomlin and Harbaugh who couldn't get their team over the hump. What makes you think they can get their new team, the Giants, over the hump? Or if Mike comes back and coaches over the hump? It just feels like there's a couple of coaches who can get you there. But it doesn't work if your quarterback's not great or a couple of bounces go your way. And I mean, there's a lot of luck that goes in, to survival here. But I mean, did Pittsburgh tune out Mike Tomlin? Did they tune out John Harbaugh?
Yeah, I mean, look, like I was saying, I do think the message gets a little bit stale, and at some point, like it's almost like Andy Reid leaving Philly, right? And Sean Payton leaving New Orleans. Sometimes you just need a change, and not only the change for the head coach, right, but a change for the team as well. And you look at the hiring cycle so far, and it's pretty interesting. The first 4 head coaches all have prior head coaching experience. Now, I know Halfley was a head coach at BC, but I think that's where a lot of these things are moving. Now I think you're going to get into some offensive coordinator hires.
All right. Is Cam Ward a franchise quarterback?
I mean, yeah, I think so, without a doubt. It's going to be interesting to see who Robert Saleh brings in to be the OC, because I was really surprised, actually, that they went defensive hire there when you have your franchise quarterback. I think without a doubt he does. I think they need to completely renovate that entire offense. I think they need a little bit better help offensively, offensive line, the receivers. But what Cam Ward has shown in the short amount of time, it's been great. Now, his next step to me is, how does he handle the new offensive system, right? Because I wonder if they bring in an offensive coordinator that's an under center play action type, or are you going to bring in a spread it out type style? Like Mike McDaniels, to me, makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you know, I mean, think about what he has, and then think about Cam Ward, who is a better thrower in my mind of the football than Tua, in Tua's offense with all those shifts and all those motions and all this stuff like that. But I've liked Cam Ward every time I've seen him play, and he's the least talked about number 1 pick in the history of number 1 picks, because he went to the Tennessee Titans and they sucked and they fired their head coach and all this stuff. So
he was in the same draft with Shedeur Sanders, so that's why he
that's true.
got over. I mean, Tyler Shuck had a really good year for New Orleans, and nobody talked about that either. So I'll leave you with this: if you're Sean Payton and you got Jarrett Stidham now, how do you what kind of offense can you have against New England?
Yeah, I mean, I did the New England game up there at ESPN2 on the app and the altcast, and New England, to me, defensively, they do so many different things to confuse the quarterback. When I'm out there and I have the clicker and I'm just watching it on my iPad, I'm like, what coverage are they in? So imagine being on the field trying to see this, and you haven't started a game in forever. The one thing about Jarrett Stidham as a quarterback, like, the team loves him. And not only loves him, but loves what he could do. He's played really well the times he's done. Here's one thing about Sean Payton, and this is talking from a backup quarterback standpoint, where I've come in a short week's rest, Thanksgiving Day 2018, and was able to go out there and play really well. Sometimes as a backup, when you don't overthink it and you're not trying to get so involved in the game plan, you just go out there and play and just let your adrenaline take over and just let your pure progression passing take over. I like it. I think Sean, knowing who Sean is at his core, he's going to make this work. And I do think they probably are more aggressive than a lot of people think throwing the football. He's not changing the game plan. I promise you that. It is the exact same game plan. They're going to go in and probably take the quarterback run out. They have to muster up some type of run game. But I really think they're going to be aggressive, throwing the football down the field. And I think City plays pretty well.
Great stuff as always. Thank you, Chase.
Thanks, Dan.
That's Chase Daniel, ESPN NFL college football analyst. Make sure you check out the Chase Daniel Show. You'll find it on YouTube. And he's with Diana Rossini, the Athletics Scoop City podcast.